What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Chanel.
And your boy, J. Powell.
Relationship status, y'all. We on here, we live. We're going to be dealing with the evolution of a relationship tonight. So, guys, go ahead and get your questions ready. Go ahead and post them in the feed on relationship status. We're going to kind of let, Josh, you're going to read for us. You're going to read the scripture.
I'm going to read
the scripture for the day.
All right. To start this thing off, we have the evolution, obviously, of relationship, which is our topic. Mm-hmm. Here we have relationships aren't born fully formed. After you and your partner get together, you continue to grow as individuals and as a couple. There will be ups and downs, and all the couples will go through difficult phases as they adjust in these changes. But those who make it through the tough times often find themselves stronger at the other side. The trickiest times are usually the transitions from one stage of the relationship to the next. Being aware of how conflict can come up during these times will help you deal with difficult times and find a way through together.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, so guys, our creative director, she kind of came up with this topic. So we're going to let her lead us in the conversation. All so right. Where are we going to start, Miss Paris?
So I thought that this topic was important because obviously relationships, it's easy for people to come together once that initial chemistry is formed. You know, you have the butterfly phase, and, you know, the puppy love phase of a relationship. And after that, you obviously, as individuals, before you were even in a relationship, you're bound to grow, you're bound to change. So today we're going to talk about, like, how do you change as individuals and still keep the unit alive in your relationship as you continue to mature in that bond?
I think it takes constant communication, a willingness to communicate, be open, transparent, and share, and be able to have that conversation through the difficult times, being able to withstand, you know, the difficulty that comes with building new relationship.
Exactly. And especially being able to, like, talk about your needs, because your needs are going to change.
Absolutely.
Especially as you individually kind of go about, like, attaining different goals in your life. That can probably be a tricky one, because sometimes couples, they may get comfortable in knowing their partner is this one person, and there can be conflict that arises when now all of a sudden maybe your partner is trying to do something new, or you feel like they're, like, switching up or they're changing up, and it's like, no, maybe they're just trying to boss up their life to the next level, and it's up to you as a partner to be either be supportive of them or, you know, figure out how you fit into that role, because the relationship is true, the other person will find a place for you to fit in.
Right. You have the moments in the beginning of a relationship. Is always fun. You have the idea that, you know, this is my dream, this is what I want. You're talking all the time, you're sharing all the time, but then there's a level of interdependence that comes about as the relationship begins to form, and then you kind of start doing what you used to do, you know, and kind of, you know, just kind of creating your own identity within the relationship. And a lot of times a lot of times one person will do that a lot quicker than the other person, and then it looks like the other person is kind of needy, like, you know, okay, so why are you acting like this? Or, you know, you're not the same person that you used to be, or you're changing, or it used to be like this when we first started dating, and now things are different. And, you know, so we got to learn how to kind of work through that process.
Absolutely. As you look over here for me to chime in.
I want to hear your perspective.
I think for one, we have to constantly challenge ourselves to grow and mature and evolve. And as we're going through our steps, I think it's good to challenge your partner in a healthy way, you know, especially if there are some things that you're interested in that, you know, they may not be as interested in, to try to get them to open up to certain things. Trying to get them to understand other things about yourself, or maybe you can just be open to trying something new that both of you have no idea that you could be interested in. It could be some of the smallest things, like just reading, you know, figuring out different reads, figuring out different links to good interviews, good topics, just different things where you're learning from each other or about each other and pushing your way in a different way, in a different manner. And that's how you're able to constantly build and constantly grow and just challenging yourself and knowing that we're on the same team.
Right. I think something that you said is so important is being open, because a lot of times this is where the relationship can either, you can make it or you can break it. In the beginning, you're talking all the time, you're spending all this time because it's new. So it's fun, it's interesting. But then there's a moment where the relationship can become stagnant. And this is the foundation, the fundamental principle that I built community off of. When the relationship becomes stagnant all too soon, then you got to figure out how to get past that place of stagnation and, not be, because a lot of times you could be like, gosh, like, why? A lot of times the man, like, why she, why she's so needy, or she won't spend time all the time. But it's just trying to figure out a way and having a willingness to work through. And Josh, you a one-off. You a one-off, because most of the time, 9 times out of 10, this where stuff get kind of stuck.
Do you think that it's like a quality in general, like a personality trait for some people to be more willing to change than others? Because I know some people are really they can be passive in nature. They can be kind of complacent in just themselves anyway. So do you think that's a challenge, especially when involving another person? Do you think that's more of a quality that you come with, or?
I think it's about the value that you see in the other person, if you're even willing to want to work through that place and kind of redefine, because just like the Josh read, like the relationship isn't fully born. So this is the place where you have to give identity. Like you got to identify like who you guys are, like as a unit, who you are individually. And so that's why you have the problem in the first place. That's why you get the neediness, because you guys haven't decided what you were going to be.
Yeah. What your relationship was going to be.
Yeah. What it's going to be.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Cause like now that I'm like in the dating scene again.
Oh, you're the dating scene.
Like, yeah, a little bit. I have someone that I'm like conversing with right now that I should say that I'm dating, and
you should say, we're gonna go back to that, but go ahead.
I'm dating this person, and one thing that I've made clear is that ambition is very attractive to me. Ambition is something that I expect, and it's something that I push, and so I feel like that is an example of communicating what you expect out of that relationship. Like I don't expect the stagnation, I don't expect laziness. I wouldn't even tolerate the laziness. So,
okay.
Because I'm low-key competitive, and I want you to level up. And when you level up, that makes me want to level up. That makes me want to
let me ask you this. If that person doesn't, doesn't level up to your standards, like what does that look like?
On like how I react to that?
Yeah, because some people, like as you mentioned, right? If you have someone that's stuck in their ways, you know what I mean? And for whatever that reason could be, whether it's insecurities, whether it's fears, doubts, whatever, as to why they're not willing to take a little extra step. So if you have somebody that you feel is worth it, what does that look like if that person is maybe not as competitive or not as driven or whatever things that are things you're attracted to? Then what do you do if you feel like this person is worth it?
I'll address first, like in the beginning, like especially that dating, that getting to know stage. I think asking questions about like, so what are you into? What do you like to do? And different things like that. That can kind of give you a little bit of a sneak peek into what type of person they are, and kind of like peeking into their work ethic. So it's just really being observant of like observant of what they're doing and what their day-to-day looks like when you're talking and stuff, like, oh, how was your day, what did you do, type of thing. But if I get into a situation and I feel like my partner has become a little bit stagnant, that's a difficult one, because I don't really see myself even getting into a relationship with someone who I feel isn't always trying to level up in the first place. But I do know that in relationships and times in life anyway, all of us can be kind of stagnant. We can feel kind of like in between spaces, and we don't necessarily understand like what to do next. So if it's that situation, obviously just being patient and encouraging, and then possibly just trying to do new things together, because then maybe that'll spark interest in them, and maybe that'll give them inspiration to kind of keep leveling up.
So as long as they're open.
Yes, they have to be open.
Even if they're stuck in their sunken place, as long as they're open-minded.
Yes. So what I know, I'm waiting for you to talk about the competitive piece she talked about, Josh.
Paris, I'm gonna need you to reiterate that piece one more time for me.
She was like, she wants her mates to be competitive, and you said no, they supposed to compliment, right?
No.
Didn't you say supposed to compliment? You posted something on Instagram that said,
right,
you know, we're not supposed to be in competition.
But I think what she's saying, I think where Paris is getting at is being able to do something in more of a healthy manner, right? I think now, in my opinion, there's so many times where it's a man versus woman, woman versus man thing. Like, you're not doing this, or you're not giving me this, and it's like all of that back and forth, and we're totally getting away from the build and the bond that we're supposed to be working on. So I don't think anything is wrong with challenging each other, or healthy competition in a way where it's producing good fruit.
So I was gonna say, are you getting like let's talk about that area though. Is it that you're like, because men get bored quick, right? And so, I mean, you're a man. I'm not a man. I'm not a man. I'm not a man. I'm not a man.
Well,
so, like,
disclaimer, I like it. We good. Hey, there we go.
But I'm asking, like, you know, because that a lot of times, more times than none, you get these situations where it's exciting in the beginning for the both of you, and then after a month or so, things begin to kind of settle down. And if there's sex involved,
a month.
Y'all should have never started.
Y'all know what I'm saying.
No,
y'all give me a hard time.
Okay.
No, I'm like, okay, so like most of the time, so y'all leave me alone. So okay, so a lot of times after sex, I would say,
okay,
not a month after sex takes place, that's when things kind of slow down, and you're like it's like you hit the epitome of the shoe. Let me finish my point. You know, you get to a point, because I'm a woman, so I'm just saying what my experiences have been in the far past.
Right.
So anyway, when you get to that point, when you get to that point, and then it's like things start to level out, because now it's like, okay, things are normalizing now. Like, you know, I got the prize. And now it's like, what's next? How do you keep the relationship interesting? This is when you start playing those games, the phone games. I'm not going to call him today, but I'm going to call him tomorrow. I'm going to text him one time, and if he don't respond.
Can I ask why y'all be playing that game now?
Well, women play because it's the man that typically falls off. I just said after sex.
Is it that, or is that the assumption? Because that normally, listen, out of fairness, I think that could be a part of the assumption.
Well, that's how it seems. I think because maybe our expectations change. So our expectations change typically at the sex. And so we want the communication to remain consistent and, you know, be more frequent. And so a lot of times the guy is like,
chance, though. You know how many women do the test the next day? Which already starts a whole domino effect.
Because they gauge your level of interest. Like, okay, now.
But it's the next day.
But it's like.
Come on, man. Less than 24 hours? The next day?
I don't know, because I haven't been in that situation in a while. But my point.
Some of the ladies in the comments said.
What they said? Let's go to Paris in the comments, please. What they talking about, P?
Okay, well, on the sex note, one lady said, be exclusives. She says that sex can make it even better, depending on how that goes, obviously. And then she said, I guess, to like the other thing that Chanel mentioned, that sometimes it's just in our heads. And then another said that we just be overthinking too much.
I think for us, we are so anxious to see if he's still interested. You know, if
he is. But
is that in a relationship, or is that just dating talking?
Right. Well, we talking about, first of all, if we're in a relationship, the real prize is the queen. That's the prize, man. If we locked in and we loaded, that's the prize.
But see, I told you a one-off.
Well, look, I'm just speaking on my opinion.
But everybody not like you.
I get that, but I'm just speaking from my opinion. I feel like your partner, from a man's standpoint, it should be the woman. From a woman's standpoint, it should be the man.
Absolutely, I agree. But that has not always been the case.
Okay, well, we here to speak on it so we can change it.
Spend a lot of time and try to build a friendship, because friendships tend to make, I think, relationships last a bit longer, because you really get to be in your authentic personality. If you like a friend who's your friend, you genuinely like them as a person. It's not easy for you to get bored with them.
I agree, but as a younger person, because not now, I mean, I didn't take the time to develop the friendship, and a lot of people don't, just to be perfectly honest. I think I do that more so now than before. But when we come back, we're going to continue on the evolution of a relationship. It's your girl, Chanel.
It's your boy, J. Powell.
Relationship status on Powell 108.9.
Do it.
Robert.
I don't see nothing wrong with a little. I don't see nothing wrong with a little competition. Right, all these disclaimers. It's okay.
It's been a while. What can I say?
Man, these folks ain't tripping.
Yeah, the competition has to be here though. For me, a little bit friendly competition.
Yeah, I don't see nothing wrong with it.
It's being motivated and not being. We gotta talk about this when we come back. Okay, being motivated by your partner, not being intimidated by your partner.
Yeah.
I've seen people become insecure in their relationship because they feel like their partner's leaving them and throwing them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's real, and it happens way too often.
Okay, this is a real show.
I know they look good though. I'm starving. No, but that's real though, cause like I look at like my
if you have it, I'm gonna give you another one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm such a she don't understand. Like I am very fun. I know how to have a good time, but it's like when you got people that don't learn how to have a good time without it having to be. I gotta go to the club. I gotta have all these people at my house. I got, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes being a good time would be you having a glass of wine, me having a glass of wine, and we or just having a conversation, which people just don't do these days. People don't just sit down at the table, put these up, really engage and have a conversation to be present. They don't know how to do that. You know what I'm saying? And I see so many times that there are so many people that they gotta go. Like it's always gotta be something. Like we can't have fun unless we going to Dave and Buster's or Andretti's or I gotta go to the movies. Like you gotta do something. And even when I'm home, I got all these people coming to my house so we can, have all this stuff going on. And it's like people don't appreciate that. Was from that shoot. Right. People don't appreciate that.
Saturday, so once we get the edit back, I'll tell you.
You missing all the good food over here.
We're basically talking about how the level up and have that healthy competition and how to not feel intimidated by your partner when they are moving. Because in a lot of cases, some people get insecure if their partner in a relationship when they feel like their partner's leaving them behind or whatever it may be. I've seen that.
That's why it's important for you to have your own identity before you get into a relationship.
Some people lose it, or they never had it from the beginning.
Exactly.
They seek that from
that person. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of different scenarios. But it's like, even at the end of the day, if we can both understand we're both going together, and I'm not against you and you're not against me, then I think that even with someone's insecurity, you can help that person slowly get out their hole. By helping them.
But it takes a man who can affirm.
It does take a man, but it also takes a woman.
Yeah, a woman can affirm too. Don't get me wrong, but I'm the woman.
Yeah, she got to be open. You ready for your intro? Got that.
You just know when to cue in.
You ready for the intro?
No, Josh gonna come in. Go ahead, Josh.
Hey man, it's your boy J Powell here with.
Hold on. We ain't started yet.
We ain't started. You told me you ready. Hey, when you did this, I was like, man, it's go time. You play too much. I'm ready. We coming out the TV time out. It's go time.
Yes. It's a beautiful day. It's gonna be a beautiful night.
I got to do the power one.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass. Let's start it off sexy. What do you say? And all the ladies say,
hey, what's happening? It's your boy from the South Side, J Powell, with my girl
Chanel.
Yeah, Power 108.9, and we back.
We back. Relationship status, the evolution of a relationship. So while we was on break, we was talking about the competition.
Yeah, that was one piece of it. And Paris, we broke it down a little different. But Paris, would you like? I got it. Paris, would you like to, expound on what we were talking about?
Right. So basically, we were talking about, how to have, healthy competition in a relationship. And when there is that healthy competition, how do you remain motivated by your partner to keep going ahead? Because that's really where like the healthy part of the competition comes in, staying motivated about what they're doing and not feeling insecure or inadequate to their success if you feel like they're leaving you behind. Because a lot of times in relationships, as you grow and people start, moving faster than you expect them to, there are people who can start to feel insecure within their relationship. So just addressing that, like, have y'all ever seen that happen?
I think for me personally, I think as a woman, it's important to have your own identity. A couple of years ago, I went through a situation where I lost everything. I lost my stuff, everything, house, car, everything. And my mom used to get on my case about not dating. And I didn't want to date. And she was like, but Chanel, you need to get out. And I'm like, no, because I have certain expectations of a man that I would date, and I know that I'm not at a place where I can bring what I would like to bring to the table. So we would argue about that constantly about why I wouldn't date, but I just have certain standards that I have, and I know just like I have expectations, so does he. He has expectations, and so I wanted to be able to meet that. I wanted to be able to attract the type of man, that I wanted to attract. So I waited to get my shit together, and then I started dating. I opened myself up to it.
That's real. I've done that before too. Like when I came home from college, like I was living at home with my parents for a year, and I like talked to people and different things like that. But I knew as far as like a serious relationship, there was no way I was going to do that until I got my own place, because that's just something that I found to be, like she said, mirroring what you want to be, like putting out what you want to actually receive from somebody else.
Right. And it's important to take that time for self. I don't think enough of us do that. We got to have it now, and if somebody doesn't make us happy or if something's not going right, we're already on to the next or trying to figure out what's the, where I can be at or this, that, and the other, instead of taking that actual time for self to help self.
Right, absolutely. And then I also think that it's important in those moments where you do decide to date that, and I'm a woman, so I'm biased, that the man, he affirms you. We need that. I don't need validation, but I do need affirmation, because we can tend to be insecure, not just in the area of the competition and, purpose. And, I was speaking about having our own identity, but just period. We need affirmation, because otherwise we can develop certain insecurities in other areas as well.
And coming from a man's standpoint, I think that's very important. I think that as you continue to pour into your partner, the person that you love, care about, and you're building with, when a woman, when her cup is so full, just imagine what's going to come back to you, and at the same time, men, like, I think it's a lot of things that we don't hear enough of either. You know what I'm saying? Like, just wanting to hear that we're respected or we're loved or we're appreciated, thank you, like things like that you go by days and days without even hearing or feeling like that's being acknowledged. I think that, just coming from my viewpoint, we need that type of affirmation too, those types of loving words and that type of pour. We need that as well. You know what I'm saying? And it goes both ways because we're still human. And
Right.
we're going to have days where, you know, we're down and we're low. And when we're down and we're low, we take it hard, you know, because as men, we are protectors, we are providers and certain things like that. So when things aren't going right and we feel like we're not able to do something that I guess God designed us to do, right, according to society or whatever standards, then, you know, we need that from our queens. You know what I'm saying? And it's not enough of that.
That's interesting that you said that specifically, because there's a lot of other like hardships in a relationship, especially when you see relationships like married couples who have been together for like decades. And there's things that you're going to see, you know, from society, like the recession that hit, you know, some years ago, like that took a toll on a lot of people in their relationships, especially because maybe if the man was the breadwinner in the household and all of a sudden those roles switch and now it's the woman who's the breadwinner, that can take a good chunk out of a relationship or out of the confidence out of either one of those partners in that relationship. And how do you think people should go about that when those really hard times come across?
In my opinion, I think for one, you know, we got to know why we're here, and that's to hold each other down. You know what I mean? And especially when you're talking about taking it to that serious level, you know, whether it's through thick and thin, man, you got to understand, like, there's going to be some rough days and some rough moments, you know, but I'm here with you, you know what I'm saying? And that to me, man, is the true success when you find a partner, you find someone worth living for, living with. You know, that is the true definition to me, and that is why God put us here on this earth, you know, for us to be able to experience love, for us to be able to experience passion and all of those wonderful things that come with it. So it doesn't matter how good or bad. I feel like if I know I got somebody that's down, I can go through whatever together, because together is more powerful than somebody doing it on their own. You know what I'm saying? Like I forgot what clip it was, but I can't remember if it was a sermon or something I watched like a couple of weeks ago, and this gentleman was just talking about the fact that, say for example, you're going through something emotionally or financially or whatever, how much harder that is when it's just you. Versus you got your queen by your side and she's like, baby, it's okay, I got you. You know what I'm saying? It might be hard today, but we'll figure it out. Just having that alone can give somebody so much more power. Just that type of positivity and that type of love.
I love that.
You dig?
I can't follow that up with nothing but amen.
What the shirt say? What the shirt say?
Dear King, you're respected.
You dig?
And you are respected.
Well, we finna drop these on here. Oh, yeah.
But look, I wanted to also talk about, like, just, you know, I'm going back to when I was talking about the affirmation. That could eliminate a lot of arguments, a lot of misunderstandings if our role in a man's life from a woman's perspective is affirmed. Then a lot of times those insecurities that we normally carry around, we start asking questions, wanting to know who that, why that, this, that, and the other. If you guys just affirm that role, you know, then we cool. But it's those moments when you don't make us feel, you know, special or important, or make us feel like we have to compete, you know, that word compete, maybe with someone else, or either compete for your attention. That's when you.
So here's my question, right? Because we human and things happen. What's your take on two people who are together and they both having a moment and they don't know how to get out of it? So what I mean by that is, a woman could be in her head because she hasn't heard affirmations or she's feeling unloved, but the man could be going through something and he's not in a space that he can express those things, and he's down. So you have two people who are doing this and not really understanding where each other is coming from. So what does that look like to you? And you know what I mean? How do you get out of something like that?
I feel like that's where transparency comes in, because you should be able to communicate that. Even if you're not in a space where you want to show love, you know, well, you are always going to show love. Yeah, but yeah, even when you're in that space, you should be able to say that.
Should be.
I'm in that space.
Should be.
I think that before you even get there, there has to be a level of communication where we have an understanding that that's what's going to be done. We're going to be intentional about being transparent and, you know, being able to be there, be a support. Because why should you have to go through that by yourself?
You shouldn't, but again, because we're human, I just had this conversation recently where we're so busy pointing the finger and we're so busy trying to get the other person to see how we feel that we lose sight of how each other feels or how we feel or we should feel.
Right.
And it's a lot of that goes out of the window. So I do agree with you. Yes, there has to be transparency. We have to be able to talk our way through it. But sometimes that pride and ego kicks in and it doesn't allow the man or the woman even to be in a mental space to understand that it's not just about them.
I think that if the foundation is there, then we fall back on that. Like if you have affirmed my space, my role in your life, when you're having that moment, I'm like, he's having a moment. I'm not tripping. But if you haven't poured enough into that foundation, then I'm always wondering.
What you said, show one, foundation. Pete, what they talking about in these comments, Pete? We got to get to the comments. Look, we don't want nobody mad at us now. What they saying? I see some laughing faces. They ain't really talking about that. What they saying?
Okay, someone says sometimes we have to step outside of ourselves and think it's not all about me. I agree with that because honestly, in those type of situations where both of you were in a rut, that was by, let me see, Miss Kimmy D.
Okay.
Or no, I lied. It's Mo.
Okay, it's Mo.
There has to be somebody who is willing to be a leader in that instance.
Right.
Period. Like even if you're feeling some type of way, somebody has to be a leader, even if it's not verbal communication, like Chanel said. If you go back to that foundation and you know where your love lies, that could be literally just if y'all are home one day and you literally just go and sit next to your partner and just be with them in that time. Like,
so y'all understand each other.
Right.
Yes,
you didn't even have to say nothing. Y'all just had to
type of communication.
Absolutely.
That's really important.
That's why it's important to really have a solid foundation.
Show one. Show two. That was
Tying
the
it all
rooftop.
together.
Wasn't that the rooftop?
What?
The pregame to the first show, like when that was
the foundation.
Yeah, man, she getting it. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess when you go through those moments where you're both having a moment and you're doing like that, that really is a reflection. If you can't, a reflection of what you've built thus far.
Right.
And so there's some cracks. And so when we get back to ourselves, we need to really work on making sure that foundation is solid.
And listen, man, and y'all don't. This is just my opinion again. But y'all stay prayed up, please. Whatever your beliefs are, I get it. Everybody got different beliefs, man. But
I
put some either pray up or plant some good seeds and let the universe handle the rest. One way or the other. You know what I'm saying? Like speak life, speak love, uplift. At the end of the day, sometimes you just gotta you don't want no smoke. Sometimes you just gotta walk away and just lift a better foot and just say, look, babe, I love you.
Walk
you know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about that walk away. What you talking about?
Walk away for, I mean, in other words, like, let me leave my feelings out of it.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Let me stop with my ego or my pride or whatever I have going on.
Yes.
Let me just try to be the bigger person and just say, you know what? Today may not be the day. We don't have to talk about nothing today, but let me just tell you I love you. Let me tell you you're beautiful. Let me tell you that I appreciate you. Just to knock down a piece of the wall so you can just start moving forward.
I agree. I love that. Absolutely.
Cannot be selfish.
You got some church music. He about to spit all on the keyboard and everything. What you got for it?
We got you coming out, going out in the break.
Beck said someone has to communicate how they feel first, open the door to allow the conversation to happen. Absolutely. I absolutely agree, but the other person has to have a willingness to hear.
Understanding each other's love languages is also important. Someone touched on that briefly. But she was basically asking, you know, like, how do you tap into their love language when yours isn't being met? I mean, you really, like that Josh said, you really got to take yourself out of it. You got to take your ego out of it.
Yeah.
I think that too is the fact that, you know, God put us on this earth to serve. So it's never really about us, and he was a prime example of that and how he always put others first. So in a relationship, you know, you're supposed to put your partner first.
Look, I like what Kimmy D is saying. She said men want women to feel them and hear them, but don't talk. Absolutely. Because we're not mind readers. You got to talk.
We're going to get to that when we get back. Make sure you save that one. Miss Kimmy, we appreciate you.
This church music, though.
There are some places.
Your girl Chanel and Josh relationship status live 108.9. You crazy.
I cannot go.
That's the best you could get, no man.
We got some hearts that popped up.
But I'm sure.
I like Amen by Meek Mill.
Amen, my big man.
Yeah.
That's the right one right there.
Come on in the room type of.
Put on that Ezekiel.
That's good though.
That's good, y'all.
Good conversation.
Hey, Vina. Vina said, hey, Josh. Vina is the girl that, Vina is your event planner, darling. She was the girl who actually watched the documentary last night. Her client is Anthony Morrow. You want to join the conversation? You want to be a part?
We got it. Good shit tonight. Good shit.
That's good though. No, but like my parents have been married for like 30-something years now. And I've literally seen them like when I was a younger girl, like they've gone through so many different transitions of being like meeting in their young 20s and stuff. And both of them have been laid off at one or more points in time. And one of them had to take the wheel. And it's been on both of them either time, you know what I mean? So.
But you know what's dope too is like when you're able to find people who have been in long relationships, but they're not
Bitter in love.
they're not what's the word?
I know what I want to talk about.
They being comfortable. What's the word I'm looking for?
Comfortable, complacent.
Complacent. You know what I'm saying? Like where they're just okay with what's going on and they're not, you know, I like finding people that really are taking those steps and going on that journey to get to that better place year after year, no matter how good, bad, or whatever. Like, because we know a lot of people who they're comfortable, so they'll just settle and stay where they at and keep doing the same old every day. 9 to 5, wake up Monday through Friday, blah blah blah.
Okay. And then I think even it could be coming back to what is. Like natural for you. If y'all both know that you like live music and going out, like that's something my parents still do. They go to concerts together. Like, simple things to keep the interest alive.
Connection going.
Okay, keep it going. I got you. Okay, I got you. Yeah.
We back? Hey, I'm glad I had to go pee. Stuck, man.
You went in a rush.
Oh, I was stuck.
Right, my day.
No, bro. I got this You ain't lying. They standing up during the time. Ain't no chairs, no nothing.
You watching the game? You watching the game?
No, we just using those sport analogies. You feel me? Guys.
Why Kobe had that big ass cushion in his seat though?
Hey man, them chairs get uncomfortable sometimes, big dog. Plus, you know, he won't look like a big boss over there, man. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else sitting like here. You see him over there. You seen LB got one too.
He got one too, yeah.
There's only been 3 people I seen do it. Him, Phil.
Yep, Phil had a bad back though, wasn't it?
Exclusives. She said
that was
y'all
your coach, right?
Good shit tonight.
You was there with Phil, boy. Are you ready? Sorry, we're talking sports. Sorry, Chanel.
You sorry?
You know I be getting in groupie mode.
I know. I can tell. He be posting your picture on Instagram. Don't even.
I posted your picture too.
I saw Josh, and then I had to look. Then I said, "Oh, that's the side of my face," but that's Josh.
Oh Lord, she coming at your neck.
I
I'm saying though, what I'm saying though, I can be a groupie mode. I love it. I'm a Kobe Bryant fan. I love the Lakers. And he played on that team.
I see.
And he had braids going to the back last year. Come on.
Okay. All right, guys, it's your girl. Oh.
I just want to thank God
Hey, you so petty.
for all the pretty women He let into my life, all the Benjamins He let me count, wealth and health, for my family, and let me ball on these niggas.
Now it's a lot of bad bitches in the building. Amen. A couple
Your
real
girl
niggas
Chanel.
in the building.
It's your girl J5.
Relationship status on Power 108.9. So, guys, I want to talk about this part, reconciliation. So once we work past that place of stagnation.
You got some notes.
Yeah, I got some notes, y'all. I got some serious notes. So it says, in this stage, you'll focus on reconciliation as you work out a new sense of togetherness. You'll understand each other better, be more accepting and tolerant of each other, and feel more committed. You'll start to see your differences as strengths and not weaknesses. Stage 5.
Yeah, you know.
You got it.
You got it.
That's a good one.
What you think about it?
I was trying to find the part in the Bible in which chapter and under what
Verse 5.
verse 5.
Chapter.
Stage 5.
Chapter 1.
Last
verse
page.
5.
Yeah. So reconciliation, being able to have that intentionality, being willing. I have found that, because that's like the $1 million question, like how do you get past the place of stagnation, especially when you start a new relationship and, things are exciting and then they kind of wane, and then just how do you get past that place where you guys are, create healthy relationship and can move forward. And it's really about intentionality and having two people who are willing to fight and put forth the effort to make it work.
I agree with that, because if you go into a relationship with someone knowing that you're going to be willing to go through those changes anyway, and especially if you are mature enough to realize that those changes are inevitable, they're going to come, and you're kind of like, just kind of waiting for that, whatever storm to settle or whatever may come about. When you know that you're going to get through it with your partner anyway, when you're determined to get through that and at least work it out to the best of your ability, then I think that kind of helps that situation a lot, reconciliation.
The problem is that a lot of times people aren't willing. Nowadays, people are so dismissive and have no regard for your feelings. Like one thing happened and they're out the door. It's rare that you find somebody who's willing to tough it out, and put in the work. I know it's difficult. Relationships are hard, period.
Every kind of relationship. Though.
Every kind of relationship.
And again, I mentioned before, I think this day and age is either what can you do for me now, or I don't know, man. We've lost sight of what it's supposed to really be about, and just people being loyal, people really going through storms and ups and downs with the people that they love and the people that they care about. Like we've lost that, you know what I'm saying? And we're very judgmental of each other, and we look down upon each other as if our shit don't stink, and it can't be that way. You know what I mean? Like we have to be real, man. Everybody's gonna go through it in some way, shape, or form. You just gotta be mature, and you gotta be respectful. And at the end of the day, when you love your person, no matter what, you stay with them. Not just when it's good, but when it's bad, you go even harder.
Right.
That I think is another thing too. Like when it's bad, you got to go harder. And then that person can appreciate you for that. Appreciate you for staying down or trying or working on certain things with them or trying to build yourself to maybe be stronger for that person. And they notice that. So it's all of those little things like that.
Absolutely.
DJ Hershey says it has to be mutual.
Absolutely.
It absolutely has to be mutual. It has to be. I mean, nowadays, like I said, to see somebody who is willing to go hard, you like, really? You gonna
that could be something alone that could turn a person on and make them want to go to another, go to another level with whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like if your partner is down for you like that shit gonna make anybody go even harder.
Right. It does make you want to be a better person, and make you more open to make the adjustments too. you know, because when you're building relationship with someone, there's a certain amount of adjustment that takes place as well, because you're literally creating space for another person, you know, and if you're used to, you know, kind of ride by yourself, you know, it's gonna be a little tight from time to time.
And it's constant adjustment.
It's constant adjustment.
And every day, you know, one thing I like to say too is you got to take it day by day. And I think I mentioned it last week or maybe the week before, but just constantly showing that person that you're fighting for them every day. Right. And when they see that and when they feel that, you're gonna experience a whole nother level in your relationship.
I agree. For sure. So this last stage, mutual respect. He said it's mutual respect and love, interdependence. In the final stage, you'll both feel fully accepted by each other, and you'll have reached a comfortable balance between being together and your own individuality. You'll feel free to explore new ways of fulfilling yourselves instead of pouring so much energy into the relationship.
Amen to that.
What you mean? What that mean?
I mean, there is just really like, I feel like in general, people have an issue with accepting people as they are as individuals. Like if I'm just accepting you or anyone else as you are without putting my own expectations onto you, and then kind of creating a facade around what I'm trying to ideally make you out to be. And I think when you can kind of like get rid of that cloudiness of those expectations, it's easy to respect your partner and let them grow and let them evolve, and then find where you fit in that as well, because you're now an individual and you can accept that.
But I think too, if they see you and experience you as you're growing, it'll help that person be willing to grow and mature and level up themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I put it, I guess I'll say it in a different way. Like if you're arguing with somebody that you love, right, and that's a chance or a moment for you to do the right thing. So if you're able to, in that situation, be calm, be loving, be, you know, understanding, or be patient or whatever, if you're able to show some type of positivity in that moment, then eventually that person will calm down and get with the program. So it's the same thing in a positive way, where if you're, instead of focusing on them and what they're doing or not doing, if you're constantly showing up, if you're reading, if you're praying, if you're, you know, showing love, if you're going to your partner, even when they're mad and upset, and you give them a hug and say, "Hey, baby, I love you. You ain't got to even say nothing back. I'm out of here. I love you."
You know something? I've always learned that we only argue with people we love.
Absolutely.
If we don't care with you, what I'm arguing for?
Exactly.
That's real
Got
too.
that right.
That's real too.
No, I'm
You right, Paris. But there's a difference. There's a difference between the cuss out and arguing with somebody, because somebody's trying to win.
Right.
You know, you cussing them out, you're just venting and getting something off your chest. But in a real argument, somebody trying to win.
Right, but I think too, and I think it was Tony Gaskins that said it on the Breakfast Club interview. I think he was like, especially if you're in a space with your partner and that love is at that level and that foundation is strong, y'all will have disagreements. It won't necessarily be arguments. Church. We need a bell or something, man.
Tommy says Josh on fire tonight.
Hey, man,
he is on fire tonight.
Hey, I gotta make up because y'all
with the warm-up suit on.
He came ready.
Absolutely.
He came ready, but I absolutely agree. I'm not arguing with nobody. I don't care nothing about you. I'm very passive on that. But guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up tonight. Relationship status. So next week we're going to talk about hurt.
Jesus. We need to find us some Jesus. I'm sorry. Jesus.
Come on, tell these people what they
people hurt people.
Oh, this one gonna be. I'm bringing my notes for this one. Hey, God, we gonna show up. We gonna show out for this one.
Next week,
cause boy, there's some of y'all so stale out here, boy. Y'all so tight out here, man. What's going on, man? Golly, man. We just can't. Man, we just can't be grown, right? We just can't. Man,
next week, y'all, Thursday, 9 p.m. On Power
Who came up with that one?
108.9.
What time, Chanel?
9 p.m. 9 p.m. Josh.
8:50.
Hey, y'all pray for me, man. Pray for me.
I'm doing better. Y'all gotta give it to me.
Shout out to Chanel.
Can we get them shirts, King?
Hey, man, I'm trying to tell you, we're gonna work on it, brother. I got you.
We're gonna get our shirt.
You know what I'm saying? I got you. Everybody, you feel me?
I want mine to say Queen on it.
Got them too, bro. I'm trying to. She didn't even see the pictures, huh? You got to show her the picture.
Oh, I showed her pictures. We had a dope
they
photo
fine.
shoot.
We gonna make them things hot.
They're gonna be hot.
You gotta say bye.
I said bye.
No, you gotta wave.
Bye, y'all.
You know they bougie, like
Next
you said. Didn't you say that before?
Relationship status, 108.9, guys. Josh and Chanel.